Hi guys, welcome back to another Artifex podcast. This is episode 3 with the wonderful Josh
Sibley.
Yes.
Yeah, very proud of this one. Thank you so much, Josh, for coming in from such a far way and giving us the time to tell us your story and also about your work. Yeah, really proud of this, and so thanks, Josh.
Yeah, just some content warnings for anyone out there. There's some heavier topics discussed in this podcast. So content warnings for, I suppose, trauma, bereavement, abusive behaviour and mental health.
Yeah.
We really appreciate Josh talking about all these stuff, but also it can be quite a big topic for someone to hear if they didn't know what's going into it, so we thought we should just let people know. But
yeah, thank you so much, really appreciate it, and thanks to Josh, and hope you enjoy.
Yeah, cheers guys.
Okay, hello everyone.
Hi.
Welcome to Artifex Productions.
Yes,
This
welcome
is
back.
Our third episode.
Yes, third episode now. Bit of a different scenery change. As everyone knows, we are now entering autumn, winter time, and unfortunately the sun does not stay out as late. So we have transitioned into my bedroom.
We're sitting on Jacob's floor.
Yep, it's very comfy, isn't it, Josh?
It is.
Yeah, good.
It's all right.
It's all right.
It's all right. I think our back's probably gonna give way in 15 minutes time.
Yeah, I reckon so.
But we'll get there. We'll get there.
We'll get there. It's fine.
So welcome to the third episode. I'd like to introduce you, Josh Sibley.
Yeah.
Wow.
Amazing Josh. We met 3 years ago
Mm-hmm.
on our photography course and been good friends ever since. I think you call it that.
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
Back yourself.
For the
Come
podcast,
on.
anyway.
Friend of the pod. Friend of the pod. Easy peasy.
So we just thought, Josh very kindly came in all the way from Porterhead,
Yeah, James.
which is an absolute shift. So really appreciate you coming
Yeah,
in.
big time.
And we thought we could just talk a bit about yourself, a bit about your work and what you've been up to.
Cool.
And yeah, so first of all, what have you been up to in the past, couple months? How's post-grad life been?
Shit.
For you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shit. Looking for jobs, haven't found anything.
Are you trying to look for photography jobs? Or just
Kind of on the side.
Yeah.
I know photography is just a shit show to get into.
Mm.
So it's kind of like looking for that on the side and then, just retail work. So
Yeah.
I had a job interview at Waitrose for night shifts and that pays like £13, £14 an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's about £2,000 a month.
Yeah.
So I was just like, if I get this, it's okay. I can
Yeah,
live.
decent. Yeah.
I can live and can buy the things I want.
Yeah,
but that's all I've been fucking doing. Mate.
It's horrendous. Night shifts are fucking salaries. I don't envy that whatsoever.
Yeah.
I don't mind it.
How's the puppy as well?
Yeah, she's doing good.
She's still tearing shit up.
No,
That's good.
she just saves that for the walk. So she just goes and like eats cat poo,
Nice.
rips up twigs.
Good.
Just the normal 10-month puppy
Nice.
kind of stuff. And she
Like-
had a poo in a cage today,
Oh,
and then a poo on the carpet. Just because she's
shit
got an
on
iffy belly.
Why
So
not?
Just making
might
claims
as
to
well.
the territory. That
yeah,
kind of thing,
exactly.
yeah.
Not that she's already fucked the carpet. I have to replace it anyway. But
What kind of puppy is it? As well?
it's a staffy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
lots of energy.
Lots of energy. Uses her mouth all the time.
Yeah,
So
That's quite nice though. Adds
Yeah.
a lot of excitement. To the house.
it does. It does. Yeah.
Very careful choosing my words there.
Yeah. What have you been up to, Jago?
What have I been up to? I am back at university finally.
He's back. He's
back.
fought his way back.
He's
in.
back. Yeah, so that's fun, but also like having a year out and then going back into like the uni lifestyle is a bit trying.
Yeah.
So my sleep cycle's still pretty tapped. Not gonna lie. Did get to bed probably like 3 o'clock last night.
I mean, every
which is-
time we do an episode, you worried about how much sleep.
Yeah. I'm worried about it. But I'd never do enough to actually resolve it.
that's
It's quite interesting.
the key point. There.
Yeah, but I'm doing all right.
Yeah.
Just got cast in like a nice uni production, doing Horrible Histories. So
Nice.
I'm gonna
Cool.
be singing a song about the plague, which is quite fun. And yeah, I'm just just enjoying the house, everyone being back in Bristol
Yep.
and making the most of it.
Yep.
It's really good fun.
Nice.
So yeah, feeling pretty good actually.
No, good mate.
Quite a ton of events. And what about you, Henry? What have you been up to?
Oh, thanks for asking.
That's all right, mate.
I felt like we were really leading to that, weren't we?
Yeah, it's almost like a scripted. What's going on?
Yeah, no, I've just been working on this stuff. I'm trying to probably by the time this is released, we'll have some events up, hopefully.
Yeah.
And thinking about, starting, independently starting a business, and then also how do you make money out of it.
Yeah.
So, thinking, how can we support artists and how can we do those things and make it profitable for everyone. So, it's been a lot of research, a lot of time and effort into that, but I feel like I'm in a good place. And hopefully by the time this comes out, we'll have some events coming up, which would be really cool. We collaborate with artists, or we just put on gig nights and stuff and get some really cool producers in and stuff.
Yeah, get some names out there, which deserve a lot of love.
Exactly.
Sweet.
Yeah, so that's pretty much it.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay, let's go.
Let's go. Run that.
So I think a good place to start for the listeners is perhaps what made you go to uni, and then what drew you to photography, and how did that go for you over that uni 3 years?
So I went to uni when I was 18 to start off with in Greenwich to do drama and philosophy. I got to December and I thought, fuck this. So I just didn't go to uni. I just cut it all off, stayed with my ex at the time, did loads of drugs and did some partying and worked in mental health.
Nice.
And then...
That's quite an interesting contrast.
Yeah, I know. Drugs and mental health. Not a great mix, but it's good when you're looking after people and you're doing it. And then, I don't know, 5 years ago, just kind of picked up a camera, started taking photos because my older brother did a master's in photography. So I thought, I can do a bit of my drama and a bit of storytelling just through photos.
Yeah, nice.
So just started doing that, and then kind of got into photography because I'm quite creative. So that's how I kind of started on that. And then the 3 years at uni was all right because I was ready to do education. And, I think it's taken that time for me to be now I'm 29. I've done 3 years of uni. I think that was the best time for me because I hate education. So it's taken that time to get to where I am, and I'm just this is good.
The first time doing uni, the first time around, was it kind of just prolonging that careless, obviously education's there, but it's just that not carelessness, but free spirit kind of attitude, just fuck
I guess
it,
so.
Do what you want.
Yeah, because I think you're at that point where you're just I want to get out, because I lived in Taunton, that's where I grew up, so it was a bit dead end. So I just kind of wanted to get out of a dead end place, be away from my family, and kind of live my own life. One of my best mates was in London, and the other one was moving to London in a couple of years. So I was just everyone I know that has done college is in London. Fuck it, I'm going there. And then it just kind of ended up as being cool, all my mates are here. I'm just gonna have fun now instead of educate myself.
No, that's fair enough. But so then I presume you were 25, 26 when applying for second time around?
For this one,
what was your change in attitude to education then? Was it just you were okay, I'm kind of done with the partying parts, and you actually just want to find out more about something you're passionate about? Or
at that point, me and my ex had most recent ex had broken up, and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, because I've always been a person that's just I'm going to do this, and I try it and I'm nah, shit. And then I'm I'm going to try and do this. So I was just really thinking about what I want to do, picked up the camera, started taking photos. I've always taken photos as a kid as well.
Nice.
So I've had that kind of photographic eye and love for cinema. So it's just kind of adds everything that I want. So I'm just going to try it. And I think I just got to that point where I was just you know what? Education is just going to be the key for me to lay the foundation for something later on, whether it's photography, whether it's being a cameraman or working in cinema, it just lays that foundation. So
Yeah.
I was kind of like already mindset to be like, I need to focus and crack on and get my shit done.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
I think it just helped having that big time where I was just literally like, I'm going to party, and then kind of all that phased out. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm not a massive
Yeah.
fan of partying anymore.
Yeah.
Done drugs.
Yeah.
Don't drink anymore. You know,
Nice. Okay.
I like having like the 0 alcohol beers
Yeah,
just
yeah.
for the taste.
Yeah.
But like that's where it kind of got to. And I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
for it to get to that place and then go to education, I think that was like just the
Yeah.
ebb and flow of
Yeah,
it all.
absolutely. And I really admired you for that, because I think once we basically got put together on our first
Yeah.
project in first year, and we were both like, oh, we love films, and we were really into that sort of element. And I remember you inviting me to your place like right before, I think it was before like the lockdown stuff happened.
I think it
was
was
around
yeah,
that time.
Yeah,
I
it was
remember-
pretty close
I
to
remember
it.
you inviting me around, and I was like, oh, this Josh guy sounds really cool. And then I was like, fucking hell, you're old, aren't you? Like, what older than I am? And I was like,
Fucking grand.
I was just like, wait, oh my god, like you don't have to be like straight from A levels and go into education.
Yeah.
For me, I was like stuck in a rut in a very similar situation, and Ottery, which is actually nearish to
Yeah,
Taunton.
Yeah.
Devon
know,
acid.
That Devon element it gets. We talked about this in the first
Yeah.
episode. Like it gets really shit if you don't have the right, I think, structure and those systems in place to let you grow. And that's just a lack of money, but we won't go into that. But yeah, I really felt like, when we started to do that first project, and I was like, I really respected you for the fact that you not only were like took your time, but you felt like it was the right time and you acted on that. And obviously, like your uni career has been, I would say, a mature one, where you kind of did what you wanted to do, sort of sometimes stuck your fingers up to the lecturers like, well, fuck off, I don't want to do what that, I'm going to work within my own thing. And I really liked that, and I really admired that. And always your work's been so interesting and experimental, and I think that's what I like sort of pitched into. So I guess the question is like, over those 3 years, lockdown was weird. We were, doing a photography course via Zoom, and we were in the same tutor group, and we were just there like, what is going on? Like, very strange. Having to make light reflectors out of tin foil because they're like, make it at home, it'll work.
Nice.
I'm paying like $9,500 for this.
Studio
Actual
session.
Yeah, studio session at home. And they did their best. I'm not like shitting on that, but I think talking about the bigger picture, what did you think? So we talked about education, we talked about what why you got into it. What did it provide for you, and like where do you see yourself now? Because obviously now it's post-grad, we're in sort of weird drift period. You and I are both like, there's no money, it's quite hard to get a photography job. I guess talking about those 3 years, what did they provide for you? Because I found the creative stuff great, but I don't know, I sometimes left with some things missing. So I guess that's the question.
I mean, for me, it was just portfolio building.
Yeah. Right.
Because I had no formal education in photography.
Yeah.
So I was picking up a camera and fucking around with shutter speed and ISO and not really knowing what I'm doing and just kind of getting a shot and being like, cool, and it's going to be black and white because I didn't do any colour. Because I was like, it's easier to work with contrast and tone in black and white than it is with colour. So I never did any of that. So yeah, it's just kind of muddling through, I don't know, creating and making and having the freedom to take my time to make something that I'm passionate about. And I haven't got to worry about many other kind of pressures of life. Uni gives you that opportunity to just kind of be like, okay, I can stay up till like fucking 4 in the morning, and then go to lecture and create something cool. So I think it was that I got out of it, was that kind of freedom, that ability to go like, okay, well, I've got nothing on this week. I'm going to spend every day this week just taking photos and journaling and doing my sketchbook. And, I think that's what I gained from it, was those kind of like core skills to be able to talk about my work, to know what I'm doing. I still don't know 100% what a fucking camera does, but I'm hitting what I need to do. So
exactly.
that's irrelevant.
Exactly, that's fine.
But, it was just kind of like, I think it was just that foundation to be able to set me up to do my own shit.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, I totally agree. And I think, again, you've got a very practical, view on photography, and I always found that I really like that as well. Like, I think it really, like, again, we're talking a lot about uni here. It's not just all about uni. We're also not an advert for uni.
They don't need any adverts.
Yeah, if you want to
just want
sponsor them. But yeah, I think, like, particularly on creative courses, it becomes quite sometimes formulated to the theory-based stuff, which is completely correct. And, like, sometimes you need theories and sometimes you need to read and you need to get that research. That does make sense. But I think, nowadays, your form of visual research is scrolling through Instagram, occasionally seeing or watching a film that has that inspiration. You're like, oh, I like that style, and then you implement it. And I think, why understand the entirety of the camera if you know what you need to do with it and how to do it? So it's like, I really agree with that, and I think that's a good point. I think going forward, you had some pretty standout projects, particularly in the third year, that I would argue is obviously some of the most impactful work, maybe some of your best. But what for you, led you down that journey? Maybe giving some context to the viewers. You don't have to talk about it because, again, we just did a bloody lecture on it last week. We had to talk about it. But if you want to talk about that project in particular, the one I'm on about, obviously we know it. I think it's good to highlight because I think, again, we both tried to, you really nailed it in my opinion. I really tried to work within the mental health sphere, within that sort of environment, but you really, I don't know, you always just had a really good attention to detail with it, and it just always seemed really raw. So yeah.
But yours did too. You're knocking yourself down there a little bit.
Okay, fair
enough. Your project was really good too.
No, appreciate it.
Like you have to acknowledge that.
It's the Josh and Henry show.
Yeah. Mine was actually pretty good as well. Definitely gonna do photography. So,
Let's go into that project maybe and talk about that.
So I started this project off about my dad, who has had like illness whole of his life. So like growing up, dad was kind of like in and out of hospital, dealing with like dad like bleeding and just having general lots of problems with surgery and Crohn's and then pancreas stuff and gallbladder things, and then he had a heart attack when I was at my first uni at Greenwich. Something that was just like mental. So my project kind of like started off as this like foundation of being like, I'm grieving my dad while he's still alive. How long will he be around for? How does that impact me? So I started like making these kind of like images that were very kind of like documentary to start off with, because that was just the initial way that I thought, well, everyone does it this way, I'll just try this way. I didn't like them. I thought they were shit. They were shit. But it led to then me just being like, well, I'm just going to turn the lights off and photograph that's like ileostomy and his scars, and use gels and torch lights and stuff like that, and fiddle around. And I started to get something that I really liked. And then 25th of January this year, dad passed away. So I then kind of went, well, I don't want to be at uni. Why would I want to be here when I'm grieving my dad? Like, he literally died, and then 3 days later I was expected to be at uni. So I had like a really big talk with my tutors and like program leaders, and I was like, I'll give it a go. I'll see how everything goes. So I started just photographing just 100% raw from what I feel from losing dad. So initially I was just like, no, it's not going to be nice. I'm not going to make it beautiful because death isn't beautiful. I'm not going to make it make a hell of a lot of sense either, because grief doesn't have a pattern.
It's not rational.
You don't go from like sad to angry to then, contemplating your life. All of that happens and you're just everywhere. So I was just like, right, I'm going to make these images. They're going to be dark I'm going to play with like lighting. I'm going to start taking photos of myself. I'm going to take photos of like nature. And I just started going through this really like fine process of listening to music that me and Dad loved. Like talking to Dad whilst I was going on these walks, and just really embracing the fact that like I've lost Dad and this is my time to connect. And you know, I just started implementing that. I'd have like exposing the image for like, you know, 1/25 of a second, so it's exactly the same time that like Dad passed away. And you know, taking shoots between 6 and 9 because that was the journey that I took at night to go and see Dad before he passed away. So just adding all these like, kind of like multi-layered things to add Dad in. And then I was like, but now I want it to be more communal grief. I don't want it to be about me because everyone grieves. And I think it's better to open that up to everyone so they can kind of be like, you know, I had this experience when I lost my nan, or, you know, I had this experience when I lost my best mate. You know, everyone grieves end of relationships. So I just wanted this to be kind of like this project where you can just talk about death and talk about grief, and there's no sort of like taboo to it because there is a taboo, and people always go, I'm fine, you know, people die, and it's just like, no, it's shit. My dad's dead. I will never see him again. And I haven't had a strong connection with my father, you know, because he's been ill. So, you know, my father figure is very distorted in that sense. And have my older brother who was kind of a father figure to me, and he'd take me out and buy games with me and do stuff with me. So yeah, I just wanted this project to just be that foundation for people to talk about death and grief.
That's fascinating.
I think that's absolutely amazing,
Yeah,
man,
and
honestly.
the exhibition was like killer. Like it was so good. It was really well done. You, I remember you setting it up, and like, you know, everyone in our course did really well. But I remember like walking along, and you know, everyone was going for quite a conventional thing. I went for quite a conventional thing. You know, just the my frames and whatnot. Josh was there like fucking like 8-12 foot high on the floors, like basically putting the prints really high, large, and like tiny ones almost on the floor. So the idea was you had to contort your body, and so I don't want to talk for you.
No, honestly, that's fine, mate.
And it was just so brilliant. It was so spot on. Like it was just exactly what, you know, you wanted from that sort of project. I can, you know, I just was like, this is beautiful. We're gonna have a short break in a bit, but what do you think, quickly, like what do you think the relationship between your art and your mental health and life is? Because I guess it served way more as a therapeutic process then, or was it more of like, actually I need something to do because I'm feeling shit?
It wasn't. It definitely wasn't therapy.
Oh, fair enough.
I fucking hated every second doing it, and now I've finished the course. You know, I've just had massive burnout because I'm just like, now I'm dealing with kind of like the death of Dad, having more dreams about him. You know, uni's finished, and now I've got graduation coming in November, so it's like Dad can't be there, and it's a fucking done time at like 7 o'clock at night, and like Mum's not going to be able to make that, so I'm just kind of like, you know, so the whole process wasn't therapeutic.
No, fair enough.
But I think it's important for me anyway when I'm making something. You know, I've had a lot of experience with like hallucinating because of drugs, and having like psychosis from just fucking doing everything on the planet, and getting really ill. So I just think it's important with all the experiences that I've had to just talk about it, show it to people, and allow that kind of discussion. Because, you know, you can sit on your tods and make photography about whatever you want. But for me, I've always had this kind of opinion that it's a platform for conversation. So like one of the people that I love, Grayson Perry, you know, he goes out to communities, makes something with them and about them. And, you know, it's not just about him, it's about that communal sense. So that's what I want from my work, is that sense of community, and everyone can come in and do something or interact with it or just look at it, you know, and go away and have a chat, or they just don't, but they acknowledge it. You know, everything's good.
Brilliant.
That's awesome.
Nice one, man.
Sweet.
Short break.
Short break.
Then we'll be back.
And we'll be back in a moment. Thank you very much. is it like working in that mental health community? Like, how has that been for you?
So for me, it started off as just a job.
Yeah.
So it's just like, you know, I've always helped people. So it's just like, this could be good. And it started off all right. And, you know, it can be intense. It can be kind of like ran at or grabbed or thrown. You know, you're dealing with these like adults. So like late 50s to like 80.
Oh, okay, right. Yeah.
So they're extremely vulnerable, but at the same time, they're incredibly strong. So, you know, it was good because I was able to like, you know, get a view of life that I haven't seen, especially for people who are like, you know, very disabled with their mental health, so they need a lot of support. But this was kind of like that in between support where we would teach them how to make like teas and coffee and make their own kind of like food. So then they would go off to live by themselves. But because they're that old, they'll stay within that system. But it was good. It was nice to kind of work with these people and make a bond, and work became more of like, oh, it'd be nice to go and see, you know, this person, and you know, he'll just be bothering me for cigarettes all day. You know, like it was just nice, and it would be like, oh, I'm going to go out and have a fag with, you know, go out and have a fag with him, and you know, we'll probably go shopping and then come home and I'll cook for him, or you know, it was chill. It was nice. And then I moved on to like residential work, so working with people with like dementia and stuff like that. And I got really close to an old lady who was just like riddled with cancer towards the end and passed away. And you know, I think it was that element where you build this really strong rapport with people, and then because at the end of the day it is a business, it's kind of like sweep up and then new person in. And it was just kind of that weird factory vibe of just like people coming in, being churned, made profit, put away. And I was kind of like, and then some staff, you know, I've seen abuse and stuff like that. So then I'm like, you know, there are good people, and I don't think it's praised enough within mental health that there are support workers that go above and beyond for people.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's only highlighted on the bad, but at the same time, there was bad. So it's just kind of that thing where I got to a point where I was just like, okay, mentally this is tolling on me. So I don't do that anymore.
And was that like kind of like the point where you're like, yeah, actually I think this is where I want to move away from this? Yeah,
I'm glad that I did it, but I think it got to that point, like you were saying, where I was just like, this is hit my threshold of you know, death and dealing with mental health. So it's just like, you know, let's have a break.
Super full on.
Sounds very full on. So then obviously you went to UE afterwards. Did like that process? Well, it's not a process, it's caring for people. The creative mind, eh? But like, did that like inform like the way that you then look through your photography in any capacity, or did it just like, because like the first time Henry spoke to me about you was a project you did in first year talking about schizophrenia, and he said like you worked in care and stuff and like worked in mental health, and the first thing I thought about was like obviously being around these people who are afflicted with such like a horrible condition. I don't know, it's like it would give you a very interesting insight into the way that you portray that on film or digital, whatever.
Yeah, I think having like the foundation of like knowledge of what people go through, as well with my own experiences of like hearing voices when I was in psychosis and stuff, you know, it definitely helps kind of portray and have a strong foundation and be able to be like, yes, this is how it feels, or you know, be able to talk about it confidently enough so it doesn't seem like I'm just going like, that's the trend, let's just do schizophrenia.
Like
so it's just
Fight
like
Club.
exactly.
Schizophrenia rather than like actual
So it's just like, you know, at least I can stay away from the cringe a little bit, and I can actually be like, well, this is how it's represented for like friends that have like schizophrenia, and how it's been for me with hearing voices. And you know, I think, you know, it's like anything. Life experience helps
Definitely.
enrich everything that you do.
Yeah. No, it was a good project, and I think we, I have experience not personally with it, but in my family, and we both just like resonated on that point, and we were like, okay, we can go down, do a video of someone crying in the rain in black and white, or we can do something which like really plays. So we did this video that had like this sort of auditory and like sort of hallucinations and different things, but it was like, quite standard images, and it would like juxtapose between nature and like jarring sort of cityscapes, and we would play with the audio. It was really good fun, and that was like my first ever intro into you and the work, and it was like so cool. So that was really good. Yeah, I was really proud of that, and I'm glad. It's funny because we both sort of carried that trajectory for the rest of our
pretty much.
We literally pretty much just did that sort of work. And that was really cool, really cool. But yeah, I think steering away from that. I think we've talked about some super heavy stuff, and thank you for sharing. You got a really interesting story, and it informs your work massively. More about you and like your sort of interest in these sort of things. I remember going to your flat at the time, you just had like an actual spaceship of like synthesizers and all these different toys, and I was like, so cool, and you were showing me bits of them. I remember you did some music for a little bit. Have you done any more of it? Does it still interest you? What are your influences?
Pick one of those questions.
Yeah, I'll do all of them. I'll mash them together. So I'm not doing it anymore.
Yeah.
I sold it all, and I just needed money. It's just fucking life, isn't it? But I would like to go back and do it because I do enjoy it. Kind of music I was making was very kind of like acid, industrial. So, things that I took a lot of like inspiration from was kind of like, Apex Twin.
Who's Apex Twin? I don't know who that.
No, he's right. Like it's just like he's so French. Surgeon, Robert Hoods. Really big kind of like techno, minimal house. Industrial. Shackleton. I really liked that kind of like raspy kind of like noise, and it doesn't have to be 100% something, and you can just fuck around with it. And like Henry was saying, I had loads of like Volkers and a big Korg synth and loop pedals, and I'd just make these like really intricate 60-second like crazy pieces of like weird visuals that I'd just be recording off my phone on YouTube. Just having fun. I would definitely want to get back into that. But money.
Yeah. That's always the issue.
Because Sims aren't cheap.
They're not cheap. The one thing you can't really like, you can get on a door, and you can get on Logic, Ableton, you can download all these things. You can sort of
fuck around on Fruity Loops.
And do whatever you want. But like actually having the hardware in front of you is really cool.
Yeah. I prefer to do that because it's more physical instead of being like.
But it just costs a small fortune.
Yeah, it does. But it's so much more like just nice to actually tinker with something that's actually valuable rather than just like pressing
putting in different plugs and being like, well, that's wonky as fuck.
Yeah.
And never find it again.
That's the thing. But do you think like, if let's say you just came into a shit ton of money, oh my god, amazing, and you could get all that equipment again, like how would you? I think there is definitely a difference between making personal music and then making music not to be commercialized, but more to be played on a stage or to be like pumped out to a bigger audience. Would you ever take it to a bigger audience? Because I've been to a few gigs in Bristol, and there's people who are doing that, and there's people that are doing a lot of actually with bands. They've got someone who's doing modular synthesis like next to them and creating this sort of really interesting dialogue between the two sort of analog and the sort of live instruments and those elements. Does that interest you in any way?
I've always had thoughts of like joining bands, but never with like synths.
Yeah.
I've liked the idea of being like a frontman for like punk.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Because I love fucking punk.
I mean,
you've got a good punk.
Well.
Exactly. I can just shout in a mic and have a good time and pump people up. So that's kind of like what I would see myself if I could do it. Like just anything. I'd love to do like just like be on the stage doing like punk and ska and stuff like that. But like with my synth stuff, I probably would. I probably would do it live, but I'd do it more by myself.
Yeah.
Like Mr. Scruff or something like that.
Yeah.
So I'm just like tinkering and making a fucking crazy set for like 2 hours. And just being like, okay, I'm bored now.
See you later.
I'm out.
That's nice.
Very kind of uncouth, not like strict. I'll play for a bit.
Yeah.
And if I'm done, I'll be like, I'm done now, guys.
Yeah.
Do some more.
I guess you're fighting the mass
Exactly.
first year jump up crew.
Yeah.
Who are going
Yeah,
to be like,
yeah.
what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
I think that sounds pretty cool. It's like kind of like from our drama side, it's like improvising pretty much on stage.
Yeah.
With the tools you have at your disposal. And that sounds fucking sick, man. Like, obviously you're not doing it right now. I haven't got a synth, but
Yeah, exactly.
if you're doing it, give us a shout out.
Yeah.
Don't give us a shout out. Give us a shout.
Yeah.
Come see it.
I'm just shout your name.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Artifex. Yeah, wouldn't be here without you. Yeah, so true.
Yeah, nice one. I think there's definitely like a need for that art. I would argue there's a need for that art musically, and then also we're talking photography and different elements. It's hard, very hard to make something that not only is consumable, people are going to pay tickets to go see. For a lot of, like, you think again, Artifex Twin, these sort of people, they start out just playing tiny clubs and they do their little thing, and they build up a fan base that they don't necessarily want. I find that really interesting as well, because it's like, the artistry in some ways loses its whole thing. At the moment, apparently Banksy's name's being revealed. Like, he's got a court case where he has to be cited in the court case, and his name's come out and all this stuff. And all the comments are just like, I don't care. No. Like, leave the guy alone. And like, his art's been so commercialized beyond, you go into any gift store and he's got, someone's made a calendar and ripped his art. That's like the sort of negative side of, obviously we're talking here like we're gonna make it big and we don't want that fame. But like, I don't know, the question would be like, if you had the choice of like with those instruments and you started gigging, you started doing those things, would you be more about that community, the local scene? I guess it would. Or would it be, about going big and trying to go fully for it?
I mean, even if I went big and fully for it, I wouldn't bend over for someone to tell me and be like, nah, you need to make it more like this.
Yeah.
I'd be like, nah, I'm going to make it more like this.
Yeah.
Like,
the reason why I got into
yeah. I'd be doing it for myself. So, regardless of if I take it up and I do something, or I do like DJing with vinyls, and I make something with that as well as like synths and, samplers, I'd be doing it for myself. Like Burial and his music.
Yeah, Burial's great.
He sampled like computer games and that's what he loved, and sampled like voices from YouTube that sung songs that weren't seen, that have like 50 views, and he's like, nah, this is great. This needs to be in here. It'd be kind of like that. I'd be like more looking to do stuff that I enjoy, putting that into my music, and if people enjoy it, that's great. I get, I'll get enjoyment out of that.
But you're not doing it for them. You're not.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not doing it for the mass. I'm doing it for myself, and if people like it, that's great. I'll welcome them in.
I think it's a good like mentality to like approach any, like particularly art, but I think any like thing you read, unless it's like, I don't know, like medicine, because you should probably do it for the masses in that case. But like, I think that's like a way where you kind of like remain true to yourself, and also it's like you just do the things that you want to do. You're not compromising on your vision or like the things that you enjoy doing.
Yeah,
that sounds fucking sick, man.
It's easy to say that,
no,
but then when you get into it, someone's going to twist your balls, and you're going to be like, all right, and then you'll be on an iCard.
Literally. Or just like the fact like when you start doing something for yourself, and then maybe it gets a bit of a blow up, you're like, oh, okay, this is actually kind of fun, and then like suddenly it's like without necessarily meaning to, like you kind of like feel yourself like trying to then pedal or something that pleases people, and you're like something that you don't expect to happen, but like I mean what you're saying sounds dope, mate.
I think it's the constant battle, the plight of the creative, which I do love to say, because it's that whole thing of like making work that's not only consumable but is purchasable, and that's like really hard, because everyone could be a bedroom DJ, everyone could be play guitar in their room, everyone can make photos and everyone can paint, but it's like, how do you somehow get that onto a platform and make it consumable and make it so that's your living? And I remember our lecturers talking about like, I worked in Boots for a number of years just to get to my position. It's like, why? Like, it sucks. Like, why can't there be like really nice sort of avenues for people who do want to contribute back to society, you know, pay their tax, do whatever, but like make work that is interesting. And it's like, you know, it's not really a salary job, it's usually freelance, it's usually doing it off your own back. So I don't know, like, what's your sort of opinions on that, and how would, you know, if you were, again, you know, not that we know what we're doing, but like, you know, how would you go about it if you were fresh on the scene? Let's say you're in Bristol and you're like, I want to be a creative and I want to do these sort of things. What's helped you, and what would you give as advice for people?
I think for me, like, my ethos is very much like, you know, I like helping people, I like doing things for others.
Yeah.
So, you know, if I were to get, you know, photography and I want to stick with that, and that's what I want to do, I think I definitely make sure that, you know, when I'm doing with like photography, I'm involving people and having voices, having different voices in it, and I'm giving them my fame. Yeah. If I got famous, I'm giving them my fame to allow their art and their voice to come through. Yeah. Because if I've already made it, then what else do I have to prove or bring? You know, I'd rather help others raise their voice to give what I've got. Yeah. You know, so that's kind of where I would go in that avenue. But then it takes a lot to be able to do that. 100%. You know, because you're sacrificing your salaries and what you're making to then help others. So there's always going to be that leeway of being like, okay, I can do this for you, but I can't for you. Yeah. And then you've got to kind of like streamline, like, oh, why can't I give it to them?
Yeah. I mean, it maybe becomes a thing where it's like, okay, you're just coming to me because you want this from me.
Yeah,
like, or is it because you actually like see something you enjoy with the work that I'm doing and you think it is tailored to you? Yeah. Or is it just like a, okay, get rich quick scheme?
Yeah, that kind of thing, But that's the thing. You see it all over fucking TikTok. Like with the guy who just goes around going like, oh, would you quit your job to start a company? Yeah. Here's $1,000. And it's just like, that's great. But, you know, how much, like, I can't say too much because I don't fucking know the guy or what the process is. But like, how much is that actually going to help them? Like if they've quit their job, they've got the $1,000 and they kind of help them initially, you know, they're going to need like progressive amount of help after that to keep it going and to make a profit, and then they've just like sacrificed their livelihood. If you see what I mean. So massively. I'd want to try and not fuck people for the sake of a like. If you see what I mean. Like I'd rather go on Twitch and, you know, sell uwus for like £10 a sub or something. You know, like, you know, I'd rather do that. But
however you earn your bread.
Exactly. You know, if you're just gonna go around going ooh, and then you get like £10 and a sub, why the fuck not? If it makes people happy, it makes people happy, you know.
That is a very dark corner of the internet currently.
I was thinking we should diversify into that.
I don't know. Just so you know, like this, I saw someone, like a video of someone in the middle of New York, and he had his phone.
Yes, I've seen that.
Yeah, it's the person runs out, NPC. And they're looking at him like. And he's like in the back of the live stream, he's looking at them, the person's like, oh my god, new sub, yeah. And I'm just like, humanity is just
that NPC stuff is really odd. It's really odd. Like, ooh, a rose, thanks. And it's just like, where's this come from? Like, Skyrim? Are people doing it because Skyrim was cool? And then you've got a girl who walks around like a GTA character really shitly? Like, what are we doing?
It's very confusing. You know? I don't get the need for it. Yeah. That's a deep dive.
There'll be a new trend that will be even more wacky. Like someone's going to be like, you know what, I'm going to do, you know, like really like fascist material and make lots of money like Russell Brand.
Like a Wolfenstein NPC or something.
Exactly.
Marvelous. I don't know, do we have anything else to say at the moment?
What have you got? You got any final thoughts, maybe?
Yeah.
Anything to leave?
Maybe even feedback for us, mate. Feedback. I mean, we're still very new, so let's see what we can do.
Maybe.
Final thoughts.
Yeah, anything for the listeners and the viewers, into the cosmos.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the only thing that I would say is that you just have to be true to yourself. Take advice from other people, but at the end of the day, if it doesn't sit with you, it doesn't sit with you. You don't have to take it. always talk to people if you're finding things hard. It's never worth keeping it in because it's just going to get worse.
Yeah.
So just chat. The more you talk, the better it is. So I think, you know, if you're going to go into something creative, you know, it's about sharing those experiences, you know, being vulnerable but looking after yourself at the same time, because it's not worth doing something vulnerable if it's just going to trigger your mental health.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't be a suffering artist. Just
yeah,
to be called a
exactly.
suffering artist.
Yeah. It's not worth it. You know, you have a very short life to live, and you know, we're not that important, and we want to make something important out of something. So you've got to look after yourself because you're born into this world by yourself.
Yeah.
And you die by yourself. So you've got to look after yourself.
Yeah.
Boom.
Very bleak.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, but it's just like the life of Brian at the end. It's like, remember, you get born, you got nothing. You die, you got nothing. What do you lose? Nothing.
There we go.
Like that.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah,
Josh. That's really cool, man.
Is there anything like you want to plug? I mean, yeah,
Well,
you have to. But if there's anything,
My
you wanna do?
Instagram.
you can.
Obviously. But no, otherwise I've only got a fucking Instagram.
Yeah.
So,
We'll
you
put
know,
it
have a
in
look
the
at that.
description.
Yeah,
This is good.
Yeah, it's gonna
And
be.
it has
very
like 5 or 6 photos on.
Yeah.
Just enjoy it.
good. Awesome. Well, thank you very much,
Thank you,
Josh.
Josh.
Yeah, banging episode, mate.
Yeah.
Cool.
Class guy. Let's go.
Sign off.
Sign off. Thank you very much.
Bye.